I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Circuit Court of Appeals, which oversees Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi, just made a shocking ruling, although I suppose not shocking for the Fifth Circuit, which is a radical right extremist court, the essential composition or most radical right judges on this Court of Appeals. But they ruled to uphold a law that was put in place by Governor Abbott and the state of Texas, which would prevent content moderation on social media companies like Twitter. And it was specifically put in place to try to prevent Twitter from moderating hate speech, anti-LGBTQ plus speech, moderating disinformation about the elections. And the essential point of this Texas law is that saying that a social media platform is not allowed to take sides at all. It's a violation of the First Amendment right of people, I guess, according to this law, and that this is being chilled by private social media platforms like Twitter, who are not allowing their platforms to be used to spread hate speech and disinformation and Russian propaganda and things like that. And there's a long line of precedent here in case law, especially adopted by the United States Supreme Court, which said social media platforms and companies like that, they actually are private companies, have a First Amendment right, corporations do, to have moderation policies to prevent people from using their platforms from spreading hate speech, and that they could moderate it as appropriate. So what happened is Twitter originally filed a lawsuit in Texas saying that this was a violation of Twitter's First Amendment rights, and they won in the district court. Ken Paxton and the state of Texas filed an appeal to the Fifth Circuit. The Fifth Circuit stayed the district court's order, which would stop the enforcement of this Texas bill, but then that was appealed to the United States Supreme Court. And the United States Supreme Court, even the United States Supreme Court, said that the district court's ruling, which has an injunction stopping this Texas law from going into place, should remain in effect, and actually stopped the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals from staying the injunction from the district court. But right now, the Fifth Circuit Court ruled the case is called NetChoice LLC, which is the consumer group that represents the various social media companies, although this was specifically kind of targeted and addressed and trying to deal with Twitter. That's one of the main reasons that the Texas legislature, and championed by Governor Abbott, passed this bill in the first place. And the Fifth Circuit ruled that this bill is allowed to go into effect. It will obviously be appealed to the Supreme Court. But here's the statement from the president of Computers and Communications Industry Association, said the following regarding the decision, slamming it, quote, "Forcing private companies to give equal treatment to all viewpoints on their platforms places foreign propaganda and extremism on equal footing with decent internet users and places Americans at risk. God bless America and death to America are both viewpoints, and it is unwise and unconstitutional for the state of Texas to compel a private business to treat those as the same," he said in a statement. The Chamber of Progress CEO said the following, that it would lead to more hate speech, harassment, and misinformation online. Quote, "Not only is that dangerous, but it throws out years of legal precedent affirming that online platforms have a First Amendment right to decide what appears on their site." You know, that's why I don't call the Fifth Circuit conservative. That's why I don't call people like Greg Abbott conservative. These aren't, small government. This is government telling private businesses how to act so that private businesses can be conduits of hate speech. What I hated when I read this order, frankly, what rubbed me completely the wrong way is I hate hate. Okay? And to hate is not me being discriminatory. The discriminatory conduct is what I hate, and there is a distinction there. For me to say, to call out bad conduct is something that we should all do, especially when that conduct harms and hurts people. But what the state of Texas tries to do, they don't try to actually even argue. What the court doesn't do in their ruling is actually argue the reason that Twitter has moderation policies, because of the proliferation and spread of Russian disinformation and hate speech and people talking about, promoting Nazism and all of the stuff that was going on in Twitter, if they're not allowed to moderate. But what they basically say is that what Twitter can do is go on and discriminate, or companies can go on and discriminate against LGBTQ plus groups. They weaponize the exact opposite of what's actually being addressed here. So they try to co-opt and act like what this law is actually trying to protect is the LGBTQ plus community. It's trying to protect vulnerable communities because we wouldn't want Twitter to try to censor what those communities are trying to do. Like that's the insidious, disgusting part about this ruling, because that's not at all the issue. The moderation's actually trying to deal with the fact that people who are influenced by Governor Greg Abbott, people who are fueled and inspired by hate by MAGA Republicans, go on these platforms and target vulnerable communities and spread hate without accountability. Ultimately, this is going to go to the Supreme Court, but this could have, very devastating and dangerous impact on social media companies in general, and exposing us all to harassment and to hate and that's what they want, and to disinformation and to discord. It's all part of what the right-wing extremists are trying to do here, to degrade our systems. And that's why we need to call it out and say what it is and show what it is. And it's just a horrible, horrible ruling. And this is the direction MAGA right-wing extremists want to take it's dystopian. They want 18-year-olds walking around with AR-15s without any training, without any experience, just walking around carrying weapons of war. They want our social media filled with hate and racism and disinformation. They want our free and fair elections overturned and toppled. They're pro-insurrection. Who are these people? Hateful fascists is who they are. And we need to call them out each and every time. I'm confident with the movement that we're all building. I'm confident with the pro-democracy movement that's building at a larger level. I don't want to leave you feeling like, oh, this ruling's horrible, it's all bad news. It isn't. It isn't. These are desperate, weak, horrible people who are clinging to their last grasp of power. And we can't be so overwhelmed by it that we don't fight back and that we don't push back at all to them. We show up in record numbers and we vote. We go out and we promote democracy. We call out these fascists at every turn. We keep spreading messages of love. We spread good information out there. We're decent people, and we call out these fascists. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hey, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Hit the subscribe button right now. Become a member of the Meidas Mighty movement. Also, if you want to support independent media, here is how you could do it. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Different membership levels, but we're not supported by any outside investors. We don't have billionaire or millionaire investors, no investors. We're fueled by democracy and fueled by you. And let's keep this platform independent. Go over to Patreon and become a member at one of the tiers. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. I'm Ben Meiselas. Until next time, let's keep fighting for our democracy.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs. It wasn't rigged, you're just a loser. At store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.